Hey, fourth grade. So before we get into our next super step for comparing fractions, it's important that we know what a benchmark fraction is. Maybe you've heard of this word benchmark before. Benchmark fractions are basically fractions that are really easy to find on a number line, or they're easily compared to, or they can be easily made as equivalent fractions. So you're probably gonna know these really quickly. If this is 1 and this is 0, what do you think is the easiest fraction to identify on this number line? Hopefully you said 1/2. 1/2 is always going to be halfway from one whole to another. So if you have 6 pieces to make a whole, then 3/6 is halfway to those 6 pieces. Or if you have 4 pieces to make a whole, then 2 would be half of 4. So 2 pieces would be halfway to that 4/4. Now, what do you think the next easiest one to find is? Okay, hopefully you said you can now find half of a half. What is half of a half? 1/4. If I break this number line down into 4 pieces, I would have 1/4. This would be 2/4 right here, which we know that would be equal, right? 2 is half of 4, so 2/4 is 1/2. 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and then this would be 4/4, which makes sense because that's 1, right? 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4. So halves and fourths are really easy to compare fractions to, and that's actually going to be our next step when we compare fractions. First, we look at our numerators. That doesn't help us. We look at the denominators. That doesn't help us. We look at wholes. Then we want to look for halves, and that's going to help us to compare fractions. Now let me show you what I mean by that. So I put this question up here, and I want you to think, how do these fractions compare to halves? So let's start with this problem. How does these two fractions compare to 1/2? Well, let's look at 1/6. Half of 6 would be 3. So 3/6 is equal to 1/2. Do we have 3/6? No, we only have 1/6. So we know 1/6 must be less than half. Okay. What about 5/8? Well, I know that half of 8 would be 4. So 4/8 is equal to 1/2. Do we have 4/8? We have 5/8, which is actually more than 4/8. So 5/8 must be more than half. So which fraction do you think is greater? Good. 1/6 is less than 5/8. 5/8 is the bigger fraction. It's more than halfway to a whole, whereas 1/6 is less than halfway to a whole. All right, let's look at the next one. 1/2 compared to 2/3. Okay, well, that's easy. 1/2 is 1/2. What about 2/3? Is that more than halfway to a whole? Well, this is tricky because 3 is an odd number, right? So we can't perfectly split 3. Okay, so if I had 0 and this is 3/3, I could have 1/3, I could have 2/3, 3/3 would be a whole. So halfway is gonna be like about right there, right? It's like 1/3 and half of a third, when that just gets really complicated. But looking at this visual, we know that 2/3 is definitely greater than 1/2 because 1.5 is actually half of 3. Like if I divided up 3 cookies between 2 people, one person would get a whole cookie, one would get a whole cookie, the other one would get, then each person would get a half. So 1.5, 1.5, I can even check that, right? 1.5 plus 1.5, what's 5 plus 5? 10, 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's decimals can get really overwhelming sometimes whenever we're dividing things, but we can use our models, or we can do this to help us see that 2/3 is definitely greater than a half. So 1/2 is less than 2/3. Okay, let's look at this last one. 4/8 compared to 3/5. Okay, what do we know about 4/8? Well, 4 is half of 8, so 4/8 is literally 1/2. What about 3/5? Well, again, 5 is an odd number. I know 2 plus 2 makes 4. I know 3 plus 3 makes 6. So whatever's halfway between 2 and 3, which would be 2 and 5/10, would make 5. I know that 3 is more than halfway to 5, because if 3 and 3 make 6, then that's bigger than 5. So because this is more than half, and this is exactly half, again, 4/8 is less than 3/5. Okay, so what happens when both numbers are less than half, or both numbers are greater than a half? Well, now we need to ask ourselves, how do these fractions compare to fourths? So look at this example with me. 1/4 and 3/8, they're both less than 1/2, so I can't really use that to help me. But now I'm going to see how they compare to fourths. Well, this is 1/4, and I think I want to draw a number line here. So I'm going to make this 0. And I'm going to make this side 4/4. So if I break these into 4 equal pieces, I have 1, 2, 4. Okay, so this would be 1/4. This would be 2/4, and this would be 3/4. So 1/4 is right here. We're 1/4 of the way to a whole. Okay, let's look at this second number line, and I'm going to make this one 1/8 because I have 3/8. So if I broke this into 8 pieces, well, I'm trying to compare this to fourths, so I'm wondering how many jumps, if I wanted to make 4 jumps to get to 8/8. So if I wanted to go here, 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 what would I have to do? I could do 1/8 plus 2/8 plus 3/8 plus 4/8. That doesn't work. That only gets me halfway. Okay, what if I skip count by 2? 2/8 plus 4/8 plus 6/8 equals 8/8. I can do that. 2/8, 4/8. Oh, wait a minute. Look, that's half, right? 4 is half of 8, and that's my halfway point. That's also my halfway point right here for this one. 2, 4, 6, 8. So this is 6/8. So I noticed that 4/8 is equal to 1/2. Now, 2/8 must be 1/4, right? Because I broke this into 4 equal pieces. So 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. And I know that 2/8 must be equal to 1/4 then. Okay. So the number I have is 3/8, which is like right here. So is 3/8 bigger than a fourth? Yeah, it is. This is kind of trickier because I really had to consider, I'm working with 8s, but I think about, okay, and if I didn't break this into 8s and I broke it into 4s, how would that work? The number line definitely helped me. I hope it helped you. Now let's look at this one. 3/4 and 8/12. Okay, another tricky one. If I do another number line, this is 4/4. This is halfway, so 2/4. Halfway from a half to a 1 would be 3/4. Okay. But this number is 8/12. So if I had 8/12, 12s. This whole would be 12 pieces to make a whole. I have 12 pieces. That's 1. This is my 0. I guess I should put that here too, huh? Okay, what is halfway to 12? Halfway would be 6 12s. So these are the same. 2 4s, 6 12s. These are both halves. Oh, wait a minute. Do you guys remember something? We know 1/4 is half of 1/2, right? If we break that half apart, that gives us 1/4. So what if I do the same thing here? I know 6 12s is half of 12 12s, but what is half of 6 12s? That would be 3 12s. So 3 12s will be 1/4. So then 6 12s will be 2 4s. So remember, this is 3 12s plus this little section is 3 12s plus this little section, another 3 12s. We're adding all those fourths together. 6, 7, 8, 9, 12s. So 9 12s is going to be equal to 3 4s. So is 8 12s more or less than 3 4s? It's less than 3 4s. Okay, now, I know that what we did today was not the easiest, right? Looking at our super steps to comparing fractions, we said if we can't compare them based on their numerators being the same, if we can't compare them if their denominators are the same, there's no wholes, if we can't compare them, then we can look at halves and fourths. How do they compare to a half? Are they less than a half, equal to a half, greater than a half? What about fourths? Are they less than a fourth, equal to a fourth, greater than a fourth? This is not easy. This is actually pretty challenging. So I want to encourage you, if this was tricky for you at all, please try and rewatch this video, okay? Really let it sink in and play around with it a little bit, because this is not an easy thing to do. What questions do you have about this? I'm sure you have a ton. Write those questions down. Ask your teachers, okay? Sometimes comparing fractions can be really, really tricky, especially when we can't just do these simple things. When we can't do any of these 3 things, that's when we start getting trickier and trickier. But you guys are more than capable of this, okay? So please don't let it get frustrating and ask questions. Rewatch the videos if you need more help, and I will talk to you later. Bye.